Again, we're here with Tyron McCoy, who's been overseas playing professionally for 13 years and coaching for maybe probably for over 13 years. So you've been there for a long time. You're a veteran of the of overseas right now. But before we move on to that, though, let's talk about how you got it started back in the day. You know what I mean, with with all with all these accolades you had in high school. And if you can see the board here, you're up your first one up there. I mean, you was killing it back in the day, man, back in high school. Bethune High School back there, man. Talk about those days, playing, because we heard about you way up here in New York, about from the family, everything, how much you was just killing it down there, man. So talk to me about it, man. Talk to me about those a little bit.
Yeah, you've been to Bethune. Bethune is like a one stop light. Well, actually, it has two stoplights now. Two stoplight town, about 1,000 people that's there. There's pretty much nothing going on out there. So as a kid, all you did was play sports. So I played football, I played baseball, I played basketball, and every season when it would change, I would go to the next sport. And actually, I was not that good in basketball growing up, so I was okay. I was a good athlete. Could run and jump, and understood. Okay, some things about rebounding and attacking the basket because I couldn't really shoot at that time. So as I got older and I really started to like basketball, football was my first sport that I kind of loved. But as I was playing, I was getting injured all the time, and I started transition more to basketball, especially when I got to high school, and I was playing AAU basketball, and then we had a very good AAU program, and then my high school was not that good before I got there, so they were, below 500 team, and then my first year when I moved to high school, I had a coach actually from Connecticut, a guy named Wayne Clark, and I think he had coached Harold Presley, if I remember the guy name correct. I played in the Big East back in the day, a guard, and he told me that I reminded him of this guy. So he worked with me the first 2 years a lot, tried to build my confidence up, trying to get me looks. Spent a lot of time in that, and it started to pay off. And then I started to invest more in basketball. And then as you know, Bethune is a 1A school. It's a small town, so we were pretty much a bunch of guys who we grew up together, and we all played multiple sports. So by the time we got to high school, we had a connection pretty much, all those guys. And then my first year, we started to turn it around, the program around, and we actually made the playoffs and state playoffs, and came in second, I think, in the region. And then from there it grew. I wasn't that good, but somehow I was able to average 20 points because I just played hard. I get every rebound, I run the floor, I cut. I was just like a guy, just go get it. So the system that we played was pretty much, made, and fit me as a player. It was five guys out, and then it was ability in room to cut and drive to the basket. So I did that. I did that the first year, and then I started to develop and develop and develop. And by the time my last year of high school, I think I was averaging about 34 when I finished. I still wasn't a leading scorer in the state. One of my very good friends named Larry Davis, who played at Denmark Olar, who actually went to the University of North Carolina for the first 2 years and then transferred to South Carolina. He was actually leading the state. So, I'm trying to compete with this guy to catch this guy in points the whole year. And, both our teams are winning. I think we were undefeated. I think we won our first 26 or 27 points, but, the offense went through me. So I'm averaging 34. He's averaging like 40 something. I think 44 or 43 points his last year. And we're battling and battling and trying to compete, but and get that notoriety as the best scorer in the state. But I think for me it was actually a blessing that I had that coach, Coach Clark, my first 2 years, because he actually talked to me about doing more than just scoring. So then I was averaging about 5 assists a game, and 14, I think, rebounds. So I was pretty all around. And then uh, it actually helped me when I transitioned from high school to college, because when I went to college, I was not a scorer the first year. It just turned out that way that, hey, there's better guys than you, and you're gonna try to find your niche and to get into college. And I found it was easy for me to transition, even though that I was considered just a scorer in high school.
Yeah, it's funny though. You said you wasn't that good, man. You dropped 200, I mean 2,975 points in your career as a 4-year starter. You know, like you said, you averaged 33.9 a game, 34 basically 34 points a game with 14 boards. Now you were in 6 assists basically, 5 assists. Now you were bigger than us. You and I think you and Calvin, our cousin Calvin, we call him 6'9"
Yeah,
up here. You guys took all the height. You know what I mean? That's my brother. Me and my brothers, we all short, but you were considered back then as a big guard, right? Like 6'5", 6'6", playing the guard, especially in high school. High school,
yeah.
when you get to college, it gets a little more different because everybody's taller. But yeah, go ahead, coach. I mean, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead, coach.
yeah. I mean, I was actually playing the power forward. There was another kid in my high school growing up. We're the same age, and he was about 6'6", 6'5", 6'6", and he played the center. So I played the power forward. So a lot of times I would have a big guy or a guy matched up on me that was, not really a guard. So I would just go by the guy, and then if they were to put a smaller guy on me, then my coach would post me up because I could post up some. So then I'd post him up. So this is how I was able to score when I was not, you know, let's say not that good. And then I had a really good point guard, a guy, uh, uh, really good. Should have played, least Division 2, lower Division 1. The guy could really pass the ball and break people down. Just so happened he didn't have the grades, which happens, man, a lot of times. We kids coming out of high school, they find out too late about the education thing, that you need these grades to, go to college. And this guy would, drop me off a lot, make me look better than what I
Yeah,
was in high school.
you talked about a little bit about you playing at VCU there,
Mhm.
and we had a friend, a legend in our area that went there, transferred there after leaving St. John's, Orlando Lewis, Lulu we call him, and
Lulu,
you
yeah.
played there a couple years with him. But talk to me about your experience in that whole going through that whole college process, from freshman year to senior, man. All the things that, the potholes or even all the good things that happen, and that maybe some of our viewers or younger viewers who are watching can learn from.
Yeah, for sure, man. I mean, my first year was interesting, man, because you're told, well, you're not told. They try to sell you, the vision that, hey, you can come in and you'll be the guy, and you'll have an opportunity. And a lot of times, if you're not like let's say, a top high level recruit, then that's not really going to happen. you know, it's you know,
Right.
it's not realistic. So me coming from a small town, I kind of had that understanding. When I got there, actually, Lulu was just finishing up. Elander was finishing up his career, and I met him, and he knew you guys, and he knew that I had family up in Albany, so he like spent a lot of time talking to me, and the older guys actually were pretty cool at VCU, so they were okay in helping me transition, especially for a freshman, and trying to get me to understand, like, hey man, like coach, I had a guy named Sonny Smith, who was a guy who was, I mean, a really good coach, great guy, but man, he was, hey, you live by rules, you be on time. Uh, Freshmen are, the last of the last group. So there's seniors, there's juniors, there's sophomores and freshmen, and you have no hierarchy. If you're late when they say you're late, uh, everything is, basically like you're a greenhorn, and then they're going to bust your bubble. They're basically trying to break you down and then build you back up. They're trying to mold you. And that's what he wanted to do. He wanted to mold you into his vision of what he thought you should be, and try to make you into a man. So the first year was tough, man. I even thought about transferring because I got there. My minutes were, for a freshman, I played 20 minutes, but it was up and down. I started out kind of slow, and I was kind of nervous because I'm like, okay, I'm playing with high level guys. I come from a small school, small town. There's nothing really going on, and now I'm in a city where there's stuff going on. There's 25,000 students. I got this party going on, this going on, and you got to learn to balance your life. So it was a little bit of a challenge the first year for me. I thought by the middle of the year, I figured everything out. I knew how to balance class. I knew how to, try to work on my game and try to do what the coach wanted. And that for me, and I said earlier, for me, I figured out it wasn't that he wanted me to score. He wanted me to come in from the bench and just be, a guy go out there and defend, who can defend 1 to 3 and shut them down, hit an open shot, and run the floor. That's what he wanted me to do. So then instead of me complaining and getting upset and saying, okay, man, I want to do more, I want to develop myself, I was like, okay, if this I'm gonna get the minutes, this is what I'm gonna do. So I did it the first year. Played 20 minutes. Actually ended up making the All Metro. And back then, the Metro was a conference considered not a bad conference. I think we had Louisville in our conference, Virginia Tech, South Florida, Tulane, UNC Charlotte. Who else was there? Southern Mississippi, Memphis, but they left. Maybe like 2 more schools. There's about 8, 9 schools there.
That's not a bad list of schools. That's not a bad list right there. That's some that's some top notch
Yeah.
schools you just named.
So I mean, for me as a freshman, it was not easy. So I ended up making the all freshman team, which was a blessing. And then my next year, my coach said, "Okay, hey, I'm going to give you the opportunity to start, and we bringing in a high level junior JUCO transfer, but I'll give it to you, and then you got to beat him out and you got to hold it." So then, actually, the guy came from Rochester, uh, a guy named Alvin Mobley was a guy. He was about 6'9", transfer. He was older than me. He was actually not bad. He had a game. Um, I think the biggest thing was that I understood the system really well, and then I knew what coach wanted. So his
Right.
skills were better than mine, but I understood how to play in coach's system, and I understood, okay, when to shoot, when not to shoot, when to drive, when not to drive. And then I looked a little bit better at the beginning of the season, and then from there on, the sky was the limit, man. I started playing, and next thing I know, I'm averaging about 15, and I'm just rolling. And I had 2 or 3 other guys on my team that were, considered better players. So I'm like the third or fourth guy. I had a kid named Sharon Mills, who ended up getting drafted by Minnesota that year. And then a guy named Kendrick Warren, who was basically he was a McDonald's All-American and a top 10 player in high school. So all the attention went to them. So when the scouts came up, hey, they worried about those 2 guys. And then I'm the third guy, so I get all the easy looks. So I'm just killing, killing, killing. And then you build that confidence, and then things change. So from then on, I had this confidence. I said, okay, hey, I'm not a bad player. I'm uh, playing at a Division 1, good school, playing a good conference. I'm doing pretty well. So my junior year comes, same thing. Start off really well. I think I'm averaging about 18, 19, and then teams start to figure out, okay, we got to watch this guy and do a little bit more defense. And then my stuff started to go down a little bit because teams started to focus on me. And then I finished up my career averaging, 15 and 15, the next 2 or 3 years. So it was a really good career. I mean, I enjoyed it. I can tell you the college, especially with Coach Smith, it made me understand a lot of things about life and about character. What kind of person you are? Are you going to fight? Because it's easy. Like my roommate, my first year, we both freshmen. He left, and I could have, and I thought about leaving too. But I remember I called my dad, and my dad was like, "Well, you signed that paper. You ain't going nowhere. You made the commitment. We told you if you were sure or not. Hey, don't call us by saying you're going somewhere, because the stuff in college, especially your freshman year. Now I don't know if it's the same, but back then, 20 years ago, man, they're trying to prove points. So we on the road and things are going on, and like my coach was like, okay. Like I remember one story was we were in Old Dominion, and then everybody went to get a pizza from Pizza Hut. And then I'm the freshman guy, so I get my pizza last because I'm the freshman. So then the other guy got their pizza. So all the other guys are on the bus. Coach just takes off and leaves me. So I come out the Pizza Hut and looking
Wow.
like, where the bus at? They're gone. So
Wow.
I'm running down the street with a pizza in my hand, with a meat lovers in my hand, chasing the bus. And the only thing saved
Yeah.
me was the stoplights. Back then they had those stoplights that would always go, they all go green, then they all go red at one time. So they all went red, and then I caught them. I'm sprinting, man. I see them like about 200 yards on the street. I'm sprinting, sprinting, and then I'm chasing them down. They got caught by the light, and then they finally let me on. He's like making tell me next time. He said, he said some cuss words. Next time, have your effing A on time, And I'm just like, man, what you mean on time? So
Right. Right.
this is what I call the freshman, the freshman blues, which are the break you. So every time something was going on like this, they were like, hey man, it's the freshman fault. So if there's, I don't know if you knew like at the tape, so there was this tape rule too, so we'll get tape. And then if you're on the bench getting taped by the physio and a higher classman comes in, you got to get off the table. That guy had to go. So one day I had a class right before practice, came in, started getting taped, and then all the dudes started coming in before me, the higher classes, upperclassmen. Man, they threw me off the table every time. So by the time I came in there, I was late, but I was already there before all those other guys, but I was
Mm,
considered late. So I had to run all the
mm,
stairs in the Coliseum. So, your freshman year, you're thinking about like, man, I'm just going to leave and go back to South Carolina or go back somewhere else because this is not for me. But my dad was like, nah, you ain't going. You decided it, you want to go there. And trying to be a blessing because when I stayed, I fought through it and it showed me, hey, man, you can make it through anything. So when I came to Europe, because Europe is crazy out here sometimes,
yeah.
especially my first year back then. It wasn't, the same thing came up, and then I said, okay, I prayed about it, and then I said, okay, man, I'll tough it out, and then that's what I did.